Welcome to a weekly Wednesday live, first of the year. We've got January 2022, and there's going to be a lot to talk about throughout the year. Always wonderful to have Matt and Marty Burnett back with us. This is the Burnett Real Estate Update Weekly in Nashville. And of course, we have a return guest today. She is just as sharp as could be and going to answer a lot of our questions today about financing. Anna Cook, branch manager of Cross Country Mortgage. Great to have you all back.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
Happy New Year.
Well, now people are back out making their New Year's resolutions. They're setting their business goals. And a big thing is, what are we going to do with home ownership this year? A lot of people wondering, is it too late? What's the market doing? What does that look like? Matt and Marty, why don't you kick us off with that first? And then I'm excited to talk to Anna.
It is not too late because so far this year it has been crazy busy and everybody is still moving and jumping and it's looking to be a really busy year so far.
Yeah, everybody is. We never stopped. We went straight through December, right into January. People are still moving. They're still relocating. They're still moving up and still moving down. So yeah, I mean the market in Nashville is still doing really, really well.
You're getting a lot of us Californians that I see are relocating to Tennessee in droves, which I understand.
Yes.
Anna, what are some of the main questions you're getting right now as you look at the new year and answering people's questions regarding their financial portfolio and financing for purchasing their dream home? What are you seeing?
That's a great question. Everybody thinks about their money at the first of the year when they look back and, what they should have done, what they did do. And the two questions that I keep being asked the most is, what are rates doing? Right. And am I going to pay more, or is this, did I miss the boat? Or kind of that question of, is it too late to buy or sell and buy this year? And just like Marty and Matt said, we're seeing so many people still looking to move here, but also this is a great time for the mover uppers, the downsizers, but also I call them the sideway movers. Maybe you don't want more space, you want different space. And so this is such a great time to be investing your money in the real estate market. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about with my clients.
It's always a great time to be investing in the real estate market.
Yeah.
The best time's always yesterday, but it's still great. And we always should do it today and plan for it tomorrow. What is it looking like as far as people worrying about rates? What are some new products coming out? And what are you advising clients as they're starting to take a look, even if they're doing a spring or summer buy?
Yeah. So, Marty and I were just talking about this yesterday about interest rates. When I bought for my first house, a great rate was 6%.
Right.
And and I tell people that when I'm on my consultations, and it blows their mind. My second house, a 4.5 was a great percent. So, we've seen some really great rates over the last 2 years because of the market volatility with COVID and everything else. And while rates may tick up a little bit this year, it doesn't mean that it's a bad time to invest because first thing, rent is 100% interest. So you're paying someone else to build their wealth and you're never getting that money back. And I made money on the house that I bought with 6%, and I made money on the house that I bought with a 4%. It's all about getting in the market so that you can let that money grow and then you can let the market increase. And so while we may see rates, creep up a little bit this year, it doesn't mean that it's a high rate market. It just means that we're going to see some different pricing, but it's always a great time to invest when you're looking at the housing market. So I don't want people to let rates drive fear or factors when they're thinking about investing in the market.
Yeah, mine and Matt's first house that we bought or that we built together, everybody I think was getting like 6.75, and we got like 6.25, and we were like, yeah. I mean, it was a total score, and we made money on that house, and we made money on the next house and the next house, and the rates, now of course, fluctuating around that 3 mark or whatnot, and we've seen even lower than that too. But they're going to change. They change all the time. So I love the way that you said, you can't make money in real estate if you don't get in.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes.
And yeah. I'd like to touch on something. They're calling this time right now the Great Resignation. We've got people leaving traditional jobs in droves. Self-employment is becoming huge. Everybody's kind of following their dreams and starting that self-employment. How are you advising self-employed borrowers as far as what kind of products are out there and how long they have to plan if they've just gone self-employment? What is that going to look like for their future home buying? What can they do now and what do they need to look at ahead?
This is a very smart question, Amy, and I appreciate you asking it. I don't know if you remember, but I said a couple of videos ago that I think 2022 is going to be the year of the self-employed borrower, and I'm already seeing that. And part of that is that 2022 we had a huge dip within our self-employed income. We saw that people were hit hard, especially entrepreneurs or starter uppers, and then in 2021 they bounced back. Well, when it comes to self-employed borrowers, typically most traditional lenders want 2 years worth of tax returns showing
Mhm.
income. And now, luckily, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac conventional products really only require 1 year potentially. We also have a 1099 program here at Cross Country Mortgage where we just need 12 months of 1099s without a tax return. And as long as you have some other qualifying factors, we can do the loan. There's a lot of business loans out there for people who maybe show cash flow and have really great assets, but maybe don't have the tax return to show it. And these aren't scary loans from 2008 where people are worried they're going to get some sort of, risky feature. These are 30-year fixed. They're not interest only. They're just investors who understand the market that we're in and understand that there are self-employed borrowers who qualify, have great credit, have great assets, but they just have a traditional type of income. But if you are starting now and you're just now starting your self-employed journey, first of all, keep good records, right? Make sure that you're managing your P&L, make sure you're keeping a great cash flow. And I would talk to the mortgage lender first, if the beginning of the year, and then again near the end of the year before you file that first year tax returns, just so you
Don't write
understand.
all your income off.
Right, because you could make $100,000, right? Your business could bring in $100,000, but if you tell Uncle Sam you only netted 30, well, I qualify on that 30,000.
Right.
Mhm.
So a lot of times people are like, well, I made great money. Well, it doesn't matter what you made. It's what you told the government you netted after the cost of doing business. And
Right.
for lenders, that's a huge difference. And it really can discourage some of our self-employed borrowers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
been our
great
life. That's
point.
that's been
Yeah.
our life. I mean, our whole 18 years of marriage. Have we been married 18 years? 18 years. 18 years of
Wow.
marriage.
Yeah, I think so.
You don't even
Yeah,
know.
our whole 18 years of marriage, we've always been self-employed, and I would get so frustrated. Like, we have perfect credit, we make good money, but a good business person doesn't show lots
There's
and
a
lots of
fine line
income.
you
So
got to
there's a
work there.
fine line there. And so for years, I mean, I'm glad to hear that the lenders are coming around, because for years, we had trouble, with home loans. We couldn't get just a regular mortgage. We had to do something that was a little bit different, which we always got them and it was fine. But there, that's the thing with being a business person. You do have to understand the big picture on all of that. And just because you can't go out and get a normal conventional loan because you don't fit inside of that box doesn't mean that something that's done a little bit creatively is a bad thing. I mean,
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
understanding it is 110% what you do need to understand it. But it's just the joys of being self-employed. And for me, I'd hang my hat on that self-employed person any day of the week that's got the good credit and the great income. But unfortunately, sometimes our federally regulated things don't fit in those boxes like that. So
Right. And what I notice is we see self-employed buyers being discouraged, saying, well, it's just not worth it. I would rather just keep running my business this way and I'll just rent. We see them being discouraged from wanting to get into home ownership, thinking that it's only for the W-2 employed person. And that's just not the case. You really do have some incredible products coming out on the market. Do you see more advancing for that into 2022 as well? I know it's hard to predict, but are you kind of seeing that that's also going to continue to expand to encourage those self-employed borrowers?
I do. There's a lot of discussion, in our industry, and when COVID hit specifically, and I bring that back up because it was such a marker for a lot of self-employed borrowers, and 2020 just had just a different view on things. Our industry as a whole was regulated very heavily in 2020, especially when it dealt with investor products and with self-employed borrowers, because we couldn't navigate and the averages with everything that was happening within the market. And so now, anytime there's that sort of quick regulation, then we come back and we swing the other way and we go, well, how can we make sure that we're not penalizing borrowers who, because of this one instance in our market happened, that they have the ability to do something, moving forward. And I honestly think that there's a lack of inventory. There's a whole section of inventory where people who were self-employed couldn't sell in the last 2 years because they couldn't buy. And so I'm interested to see if that changes this year. And because they were self-employed, the idea of selling and going somewhere else and not be able to qualify or not be able to do it because of their income being so flux, they were really sitting tight just to kind of watch to see. And I've heard a lot of my self-employed borrowers say, gosh, we came back with a bang, or we, are doing better in 2021 than we did in 2019 because that industry is reviving. And so I have hope for those buyers. And the biggest thing is, and this is the short-sightedness for a lot of people, whether it's renting or waiting, is that we don't think about the cost of renting versus paying a little bit of taxes to buy.
Yes.
The average renter spends about $90,000 over a 5-year period on rent. Is it worth paying a little bit more to the IRS for 1 year in property taxes to actually save $90,000
Yes.
or make $75,000 in purchasing in the first 5 years? You have to look at the gain, the reward versus the risk for a 1 year period in filing taxes to have a bigger gain in your long-term wealth building. And I think that's something that maybe needs to be communicated a little bit better.
That was the
and
mic drop right there. That was it. That's it. That said it all. Brilliant.
Along those same lines too, though, because I have a lot of these same questions coming to me. I've already had calls, January 1, like, hey, we're going to buy is this a good time? Is this not a good time? Are we overpaying? Are we this? Are we that? And that's what I tell people, is this thing going to bust? Are we going to overpay for a house? And then in 2 years, we're going to be in the bucket, 100 grand, all this kind of stuff because of what happened to the market back in 07, 08. And what I'm trying to tell people is that prices are up. We did a boomerang back from a 10-year, almost nearly 10-year recession.
Yes.
So there was a lot of recovery that had to happen there. So the prices are up. Yes, they're up. But the good news is that with the interest rates where they are, as long as you're going to stay in your house for 2, 3, 4 years, your interest rate alone is going to offset the increase in the pricing, so, I tell people, a lot of people aren't like sitting still and, well, I can sell and max out on my money, but like, I'm going to have trouble buying. We're winning houses for buyers every single day. We're finding them what they want. It is taking a little bit more planning and you're going to have to be a little bit more strategic and all of those types of things. But, waiting for the market to slow down or adjust, don't forget that house that you're sitting in, it's going to slow down and adjust too. But the things that we're looking at, the things that we're reading, the research that we're doing, it's not showing that Nashville's going anywhere in the next 8 to 10 years. So
growing like crazy.
Again, you could be sitting here next year going, man, I should have bought back in 2022, so I'm having these same conversations over and over again with people.
Well, and I want to put some skin on the numbers here because that's where I feel like people need to hear it. So I bought my first house, little bitty townhome, in 2007. We were excited, first time home buyers, 3 years of renting, newly married, and the market crashed. We bought the house for 25 less than we thought it was worth in the market. That next year we had 4 homes foreclosed and it dropped 40,000, 50,000 in our market. So we lost money. So we buckled down. Thankfully, we bought in a purchase price range we could afford. We buckled down. We didn't need to. We sold the house. And on average, I think we ended up netting over 4% hand over fist every year that we had kept the house, even after the market downturned.
Wow.
And when you do an analysis over a 10-year period, the market average is about 4% of gain. So on $100,000, you're gaining your 4,000 every year. So when I look back at the 2008 market crash and I bought right before it, I still made money when I sold it. And I had a 5.75% interest rate. But what people worry about is with the market crash now is they're thinking that's going to happen and they're waiting for it to happen. First of all, we never want to wait for a market crash to happen because that means bigger things are happening in our economy that will feel collectively. But the other thing too is when the market crashed last time, we had high inventory, we had a ton of stuff on the market, we had high prices, we had high rates, and we had no regulation in the mortgage industry. We are at low inventory, we're at medium to high prices, we have super low rates, and we're at the highest regulation that the mortgage industry has ever seen. We're not in a bubble to crash. We're in a bubble to keep stabilizing and keep growing. So everyone who waits is going to keep waiting, and you're going to miss out on that 5 to 6% return year over year. And so I need people to stop waiting and get out and sell and buy this year. You
And
know what I
and
mean? Like that's
Exactly.
where we're at.
and one major thing that we see is compared to last time is the jobs. Last time there were no jobs were not flooding into Nashville in particular like they are now. I mean, everybody I know is hiring.
Right.
There's jobs out there. And there's more coming and really good jobs. And so that's a major difference between now and 2008.
Yeah, Nashville is a different Nashville too, and I think that's a big
Mhm.
thing, you know. It's just a different city. And even in the crash, we still stabilized well quicker than anyone else did. And we have one of the most diverse economies in the nation right now. And so, Marty, I know we were, like I said, talking about this yesterday, but the amount of equity that people have in their home and the game changer and the life changer that could do for them. We have a client right now who can pay off a car that's costing them $600 a month, go up in purchase price, and still save money monthly because they're taking their net equity from this house, moving up, getting canceled debt, and their total monthly payment is changing where they can afford some of the things they're wanting to do for their son with his private school. But people need to think about their total
Yes.
monthly and not just their monthly payment so they could really start to afford the next lifestyle, or if they're downsizing, get ready for retirement. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of potential sitting in the equity in their home right now.
Well,
It,
and that's the big thing. I mean, that's the big thing that I think people need to look at. They look at it as I've got a ton of equity in my house, but I got nowhere to go, and I'm going to overpay for that house. And I'm like they're just thinking about it very one level.
Mhm.
And the whole thing is that you do have places to go, and even in a lateral move, if you're pulling that equity out and changing your whole financial picture with that equity, and then repositioning yourself in a house that's just as nice as what you came out of, but your financial picture is better.
Yes.
People don't think about looking at the entire financial picture with this
Right.
move. It's just we go out, we get our mortgage approval,
And
we
get
do
the
this, we
house.
do that. Yeah, they're very, very one-minded. There are opportunities in today's market that weren't there in 07, 08. And we lived to do that crash. I mean, we
Yes.
stayed married because we couldn't afford to divorce. So what do you do? It was cheaper to keep her. So we kept rolling, but there are opportunities now. I mean, and not that we're even headed towards a crash, but there are opportunities now that people can position themselves for when we do see some sort of adjustment down the road
Mhm.
that is going to put them in a lot better position overall. And I love that you brought that point up.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. And I love it. Yeah, I've been in the industry since 2001, started in wholesale mortgage. And what I love seeing is some of these incredible products coming back on the market, which I feel shows that stability of where
Yes.
things are going and what that looks like. When you see banks expanding their products, especially for the self-employed borrower, this is stabilizing. They're investing in us. And I think these buyers really need to take advantage of some of these incredible products that really are there and coming out that were not there 5 years ago.
And
Yeah, they
still at
were.
crazy low rates. I mean, crazy low rates.
Yes. The national healthy average is what, 6%? It fluctuates between 5 and 7 is what they say. And we're still seeing threes in front of our numbers, and we have such a short-term memory. But in 2018, 2019, rates had a 3 and a 4 in front of them, and people were buying houses and getting into great properties. And those people in 17, 18, and even 19 are loving the equity build that they've had
Yes.
now. And I just think that people, this I'm going to wait and I'm going to wait, I'm going to wait. You're going to kind of be holed up and waiting for a long time.
Mhm.
And it's that whole, the best time to invest was 5 years ago. The next best time is now. And
Yes.
that's really always true in the market. And when it comes to the whole financial picture, I think that that's the discouraging thing for a lot of people is they're not getting that knowledge and they're not having somebody look at their whole picture. And that's such a key in this is to be able to understand all of your numbers and not just your mortgage numbers, because all of it is affecting your next 5 and 10 year plan with wherever you're at in life.
Mhm.
Yep,
Mhm.
that's it.
It is.
Well, incredible information. And this is what people need to hear. And we're going to come on probably a lot this year. Anna, we're going to have you back to keep talking about this so people aren't missing great opportunity because they weren't informed or they didn't look at the whole financial portfolio like you guys discussed today. It's so important. It's not just the mortgage, it's your entire financial portfolio and legacy mindset for this, for you and your family in all the years to come.
Yeah,
Really
I
good
tell people
stuff.
all the time, this is important. Put it, you know, people, oh, I don't have time on. You have time for what you make time for. This is important. Make time for it. Set that appointment, really dig in and really make a good financial move this year. When my clients call me up or Matt's clients call him up and say, you know, we're looking to move, and then you get to go in there and show them this, like, all this equity and what they can do. Like, it is so exciting to help people position themselves better and help them succeed. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And it's so fun.
Well, you guys are a dream team making it happen. If anybody wants to reach out and learn more from Anna, find out about those products, that pricing, how to really plan. Doesn't matter if you're not buying till the end of the year. Reach out today. You can reach her through Matt and Marty. Reach Matt and Marty. They're going to answer your real estate questions. This is a dream team right here to help your home ownership needs. They can answer your questions. Love these discussions that we have. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up for 2022. What a great way to kick it off. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Good to see y'all.